is a recap of everything that's happened this week, the good and the not so good. Let's talk about it.
So I want to start this by giving a huge shout out to my brother, Stacy. Please head over to his channel, hit that subscribe button, and check out the 3 videos that he's done on this topic. I'll actually be stealing some clips from him. Basically, to summarize it, a famous food critic, TikTok food critic, Keith Lee, who's also a UFC fighter, he's been doing a countrywide tour where he stops at different Black-owned restaurants, reviews the food, reviews the customer service, and he gives his opinion. And because of that, he's become a pretty big deal in the food scene. So big of a deal that now when he goes to places, he has his family go in to place their order to get the baseline experience of the establishment. So he's not treated differently just because of his platform. And when I first saw this story on Stacy's page, it really struck me how similar some of these issues that we have with Black-owned businesses are with some of the issues that we have with some Black women. So I wanted to kind of juxtapose the two. Black-owned businesses, and again, I want to be very clear, this includes African-owned businesses, are notorious for their terrible customer service. And as somebody with a business degree, I feel multiple ways about this. Number one, I understand that Black-owned businesses don't have the same legacy as their white-owned counterparts. So the money isn't there, the staffing isn't there, the business experience isn't there. So we have to have a little bit of grace, right? They're not going to be as quick. They're not going to necessarily be able to produce the same quantity as their white-owned business. However, you would think that we would overcompensate with some of the soft skills, things like customer service. But what you find is very often when you go into a Black-owned business, they look at you and treat you like you ain't worth a damn, like you are bothering them for wanting to patronize the business. Jamaican restaurants are notorious for this. African restaurants are notorious for this. And what's difficult is that the food tends to be really, really good. It's a running joke that if you go into a Jamaican or African restaurant and the customer service is good, the food is going to be bad. Or if the food is good, the customer service is going to be terrible. And as Black folks, I think it's high time that we demand more. What's particularly frustrating about this situation is that instead of the restaurateurs to take this critique well and improve their business, they, Candy Burst, the owner of Honey and Milk, I think, chose to be defensive and petty, which again juxtaposes perfectly with what we see happen with our women.
The company caught wind of it, and this was their response, dog.
Did you see this Keith Lee video about the real milk and honey?
And who is this Keith Lee?
Daddy, you don't know Keith Lee?
Yeah.
No.
God damn, they really try to play Keith Lee like that, huh? Crazy. And on top of that response, you have an employee, a Milk and Honey employee saying this right here. Y'all let an autistic man tell you what to eat. Also, it's only TikTok. Nobody give a funk in real life. Be funkin' for real. And yes, y'all see her name. The real manic mogul, Milk and Honey Management. Yeah, but the same ones that was scrambling around trying to serve that man, even though they had an alleged deep cleaning situation going on at the store.
Keith Lee went to these restaurants. He had a bad experience. He told his millions of followers about his bad experience. And instead of owning up to it and putting in systems to fix the problem, instead, no, the problem is Keith Lee. Similarly, when we talk about some of the issues with our female delegation, instead of owning the problem and moving towards solution, it's who hurt you. It's you're not man enough. A real man would ...
I really just wanted to say I do appreciate Keith Lee for stopping by our restaurant and trying to show us love. It is very unfortunate that we couldn't serve him and his family. We would have loved to, okay? But he's right. We don't take to-go orders on the weekends, and the simple reason is because we do love and appreciate the people who come and support our restaurant. On the weekends, we get a lot of community support, people in our city that show up for us, as well as a lot of people from out of town. So with that being said, we don't want to overwhelm our kitchen by having to, have such long times for the people who are actually at the restaurant, plus having to do to-go orders, because obviously that would make the wait times even longer. So that's the reason for that. For those of you, I saw a couple of people was like, why wouldn't they take to-go orders? Well, that's why. Anyway, with that, outside of that, I want to say thanks to Keith for trying to even show up to our restaurant and show us love. Thanks for trying to bring your family by. And maybe next time we'll still get a chance to serve you.
All right, so that was Candy Burris. Now, some people aren't feeling that she didn't acknowledge the preferential treatment that Keith Lee said that he received, and he wasn't really feeling that in comparison to how other patrons are being received at the restaurant. Now, this person says the point Keith's being missed. Keith wants to be treated good before y'all found out it's him. That's the only way he can give an honest review. If y'all only give people with clout preferential treatment, then that is a problem. This person says the whole point is to treat everybody the same. But a lot of y'all self-esteem is so low that you would prefer a celeb be treated differently.
And the bigger picture here is that our community, being a matriarchy, has led to an effeminate disposition. And that effeminate disposition is bled into our way of doing business. And ultimately, it hurts us. Because with restaurants especially, they have a notoriously low profit margin. I think to be a quote-unquote successful restaurant, you're operating at a 3-4% profit margin. And again, these are restaurants that are scaling. But in our community, where the focus is just looking like success, as opposed to the sustainability of said success, and the scalability of said success. No, we don't focus on good business practices that actually help us grow and maintain what we've built. We just focus on the aesthetic of being a boss.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones without the blazer this week. I know.
I just took it off.
But we're here to break down the reality of Black businesses. So I'm not taking the same exact angle as the gentleman in the video because I want to focus on Black businesses overall. Pulling back the veil and putting some truth and some statistics and things next to it to show how successful Black businesses really are these days. Because the video, I chose this part of this video and clipped it up because what I do want to focus on that's in the video is the presentation and the product of Black businesses. All right, Black people, we got to start running businesses like Popeyes, like we work at Popeyes, right? So, but it's this clip and also a conversation that I had with my man Sam Carter during homecoming, because my friend and I, we was basically having a conversation with him about why don't HBCUs go to the playoffs in the FCS college football. And basically it broke down to a lack of economics and competency, proper economics and proper competency. And with that, and then seeing the situation with Keith Lee going on, it just, okay, so we need to have a real conversation about Black businesses and really put the things on the table and really pull back the curtain as to why we choose to run our businesses the way we run our businesses. Basically, it's the Popeyes mentality. Everybody know when you go to Popeyes, it's niggerish, right? So why do we bring that mentality to even different sectors of business, and why do we run our businesses in a way that makes it seem like we're better than our customers when the customers keep us afloat? So, but that's just one aspect of it. It's deeper than that. So, Pat, man, what you think about the overall idea of bad businesses or bad business practices with Black businesses? Why do you think that's such common practice? Bad attitudes and bad business practices.
I think it goes at its core is intellectual laziness. Black people aren't doing the research necessary to learn what solid business models are, what solid business practices are, what are even solid industries to go into business, the purpose of a business, how to run a bit. Like black people aren't doing that kind of research. And this is something that I can speak to very confidently.
I know you can.
For various reasons, one of which being that I owned a business that offered Lean Six Sigma services to other businesses. And the whole purpose of me doing that was to be able to give black people, black business owners, access to the same sorts of skills and resources that white businesses were using to scale their products immensely, error-free, reduce costs, and everything else. And I ran that business successfully. You know, I was able to pay my bills. I was able to do a lot of amazing things with that business. And for those that are curious, the only reason that business does not still exist is because I decided to focus more on direct community development instead of continuing to run that business. So to be clear, I was successful. I did not fail at that business. A decision was made to redirect my energies into a different direction. So I say all that to say I know what the fuck I'm talking about. All right. So that is at its core. That is at its core. When you talk to most black business owners about an idea for a business, they haven't done a single shred of research in terms of the market, in terms of processes needed to produce, in terms of scalability, in terms of customer base. Yeah, 95% of the black business owners that I work with, even those that already had a business going, you ask them who's your customer, they say everybody. Okay, so you don't have a customer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can really dig as deep into this as you want, but that at its core, that is why black businesses continue to fail. Everything stems from a lack of research, intellectual laziness, and then from there, there's inculcated corruption, my new favorite term. There's all kinds of other things going on that prevents business owners from appreciating black customers and black patrons. As much as we like to talk about how black people have failed their black businesses, that has been very much reciprocated by black businesses. So, and we can keep going, you know, and even to one of the things the brother said in the video where he's talking about his business degree, and he was talking about how and I'm just referencing that because it takes me back to the spot he mentioned it at. Not that I'm slighting on the brother for having a business degree, because I'm not. But when he talked about giving black businesses grace because they don't have a legacy, with that, that's not how that works. We understand that black businesses oftentimes don't have the resources. So that comes into, again, we're talking about scalability, the scale that you're able to open your doors at. And we're talking about the amount of money you have. And we're also talking about economies of scale. So we're talking about the prices that you have to set based on how much it costs to produce your product. So yes, we have to give them grace in that sense, where black people can't necessarily go into a black store, especially a mom and pop store. You shouldn't go into any small business and expect the same low prices that you get at Walmart. Right. You shouldn't do that. That's not fair. But outside of giving grace for elevated prices, small businesses also understand that because our prices are elevated, because we can't afford to buy in bulk, essentially, our service has to be elevated. So you can't give grace. There's no grace to give. They offer a particular product at a particular price point that we all know you can get from somewhere else better. So what they need to do is complement that by having superior service. There's no grace needed.
Right. Okay. Now I'm with you. I'm with you on that because especially now, because we've had a boom in the number of black businesses that have opened since COVID, since 2020. And because of that, it's an illusion of an immense amount of black success. But when we really get into the numbers, we're going to see that we do have successful black businesses, but it's not as many as people think they are. But the lack of scalability, the lack of resources, the lack of capital, all these different things that you mentioned that these black businesses lack, but they also lack the soft skills. So PC, why is it so common for black businesses to lack the soft skills, even though they already lack the other resources that they need to compete with other businesses and other industries?
Well, one thing is we don't have a culture that focuses on those particular mannerisms, on respecting people who are nice to you. We don't, like he did a comparison of black businesses and black women, like relationships with black women. And the one thing that's consistent with both is that far too many times, if you're nice in either one of those directions, that the person you're nice to or the group that you're nice to will usurp your niceness and take your kindness for weakness. And that's the most unfortunate part about all of this, is because you want to break this generational situation. It's not even generational, it's a cultural situation that we're in right now. But it's kind of hard to do that because you still have to get to the point where the breakthrough takes place, and then you have to maintain until the breakthrough takes place. So this is one of those things that, my God, are we too far down the road to fix this? And I have to ask that question because I can't honestly, like, listen, in terms of like what I saw with the sister, and she used to be in like Escape or something, right?
Yeah, Candy Burrs, yeah,
Candy Burrs, right? In terms of her response to the brother's experience, I gotta. There is a part of that exists, a part of that arrogance that exists because they, when you go into a business, they believe that their bad attitude is an obligatory part of their business. They believe you should suffer that bad attitude because it's cultural. They believe, like, we've even had like a lore to it. LL Cool J made a song out called "Roundaway Girl." Sassy mouth with a bad attitude. That's all I need to get me in the right mood. But that transcends more than just the song. That's the culture, and it's not just the women, but you saw some men in that particular video that operate the same way. We don't like each other. We might love being black, but we don't like niggas, and we don't like other black people. And to us, the two are interchangeable. As much as people want to say you got black people over here and niggas over here, nah, for too many of us, it's interchangeable. You don't believe me? Watch somebody say, "Hey, black man," nigga, what the fuck? And it goes that fast. It happens that fast. We don't have a culture of winning. We reject the culture of winning, a winning culture, because a winning culture comes with boundaries. Because if it's like you look in sports, winning teams all talk about the culture. They could have been losing before. You change the coach, and the coach changes the culture, the environment of the team. And now all of a sudden, a team that couldn't win 2 games 2 years ago is now a season or two away from contending for the Super Bowl or the NBA championship or whatever, because they were able to embrace a new culture. That's what I mean about if we're too far down the line. That we don't have the currency or the credit that would allow for us to get to that place where the breakthrough happens and we start treating each other kinder and better, and we generate a better culture while breaking away from the losing culture. We like the losing culture because the losing culture has low